know too much about her father-in-law, and I think there are certain things that have to be said. First of all, Joe and I went into the Army together as PSCs, and we came out in January of 44 as freshman medical students at the University of Maryland. And the thing that I remember most about that experience being a freshman medical student at the University of Maryland was taking our walks that the Army required. Actually, they called it exercise that we needed, physical therapy that we needed. We used to walk along Lombard Street, from Green Street along Lombard Street to Carroll Park. And invariably, I fell in line with Joe. So we used to walk double file. And he would point out his father's grocery store to me. And I realized the neighborhood that he grew up in, you had to have an inner strength as a little Jewish boy to survive that neighborhood. And I had a lot of respect for him under those circumstances. And everybody's surprised that when Joe went into the Army in Korea, he was a battalion aide surgeon for a year. Now, looking at Joe, you don't think of him as being on the front lines treating soldiers. But he again displayed the same energy of toughness. He's a very multifaceted man. I mean, Donna didn't know, for example, that her father-in-law was the honor man in our class.
The gold medal boy.
And we had a lot of bright people in that class. And Joe got top honors.
Can you catch up with him the next time in Middle River?
No, we're not finished yet.
Okay.
Norm and I were married, and the phone rings, and there's this strange voice.
Well, he also was.
Wait a minute.
Okay, well, one of his facets was he's a practical joker.
He is.
In the senior year of medical school, we generally had to go to a professor of surgery's home, an anti-Semite of the first degree, Dr. Arthur Shipley. And everybody was scared to death of that evening at Arthur Shipley. So I'm sitting home one night with my wife. We were married at this time. And I get this call.
I got the call.
Naomi gets the call.
This individual on the other end of the line with this strange voice. I didn't know that it was Joe at the time. Says, is Norman Levin there? And I said, yes, he is. He said, this is Dr. Shipley. He was supposed to be here tonight for his exam. Where is he? Well, I panicked because I too was frightened of the man. And I put Norman on and I hear Norman fumbling on the telephone.
Finally, I caught up.
It was Joe. That was his sense of humor.
It was Uncle Joe. Well, I was also honored to be an usher at his wedding.
At their wedding.
At their wedding. If you found a friend in Joe, he really remained a true, loyal friend to you.
Right.
This was a part of his character that I really did appreciate. And it seemed that whenever problems were there, Joe was there also.
Remember the time you lost your hat in Williamsburg? It's on the way.
You remember the trip to Williamsburg? That was great.
Well, you know,
Virginia.
Joe.
You should go.
Joe really is a tender, caring person. Oh, I can say that.
Except on the golf course where he gets mad at himself.
Well, everybody has their faults. He is one of the few guys that I can play golf with because
he's as bad as you are.
He's as bad as I am, despite his seriousness with which he takes the game. He really is fun to play golf with. Are we still talking?
Are we finished?
At any rate.
Are we through?
At any rate. At any rate.
I'm really honored to be considered a friend and to have been included tonight. We adore the children, the grandchildren, the in-laws. we adore Miriam and Joe. Sweeter, nicer people you'd never find anywhere.
Well,
Right?
you've got to appreciate the fact that they turned out some great products,
That's right.
and it's very impressive. The children have grown, matured, and developed. Grandchildren have come along.
And how beautiful they
You
are.
could really feel the warmth in the air tonight. It was beautiful. And I think he's a lucky man.
Bye.
Hi. Thank you.
Japan at the time, or wherever he was. So maybe I didn't know him when I met him, but I heard about him, you know. And yes, I agree with everything she said. That's right.
We wish you a happy, happy birthday.
Happy
We
birthday.
love you.
Well, Uncle Joe, congratulations on your birthday. Wish you a healthy and happy birthday. I want to share a recollection from when I was a teenager, Uncle Joe, and Jonathan and I used to play table tennis down in your basement. At that time, the basement was quite leaky, and it used to have a good bit of water which would interfere with our play. Perhaps unbeknownst to you, you used to store a lot of medical files in your basement, Uncle Joe, and we didn't have spare rags and paper and things like that. So fortunately, after all of these years, the damage to a small number of your medical files hopefully hasn't interfered with the practice, but it certainly contributed to our table tennis abilities. So for great table tennis times, and for very happy times when I was a youngster growing up, playing table tennis with John and the boys in your basement, I want to
Well, let's go back to the beginning. I guess Joe and I had a mutual friend, and somehow I introduced, and I got very involved, and it blossomed. And here we are today. But our relationship has always been sort of like a family-oriented relationship. We would celebrate the holidays together, we'd have Seder together, and we'd break fast together.
You went all through school with Miriam, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that doesn't tell about Joe. And we would go on vacations. We would go down to Atlantic City. My mother and father sort of had a house there. And we would go down for long weekends. And then we went on, we went to the Concord together. And I think we went up to Canada. And lately we went to the little house, little inn in Washington, down to the Smokies. We've always
We went to Skyline Drive.
yeah. And we've always, it's like family. I mean, we never have anything without the Shears. And we've enjoyed seeing their children grow up and blossom. And this is the brisk dress that we, tradition that we've used. Ricky was the first one to use the brisk dress. And then we went all through, and then I guess Michael was the second one, and Jonathan, and now their children, Ricky's son and Kathy's son, and then Elliot, and now Joshua, the youngest, have one now, famous brisk dress.
Where'd you get it from originally?
It was just a little, well, Ricky was the first one, so my mother, I guess, Mother Rochelle, bought the dress and the little slip, and I just kept it out of sentimental reasons, and then it became, you know, traditional for everyone to wear it, and I guess.
It's amazing how it's held up all these years.
Yeah, we put a lot of starch in it, powder and paint. And
Paul, do you have any memories of Joe Shear?
Oh, sure. I feel like I've known Joe all my adult life. Of course, Shirley's known him longer than I have, but I've known him for. My most vivid memory of Joe was when he was in the Army and going to medical school, and I was in the Army. I was actively in the Army, and he was going to medical school. Then he went to Korea, and Miriam took the children to Japan, and I don't know how long did they spend there?
yes,
A couple years, wasn't it?
about a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then Joe all my adult life, and he's been our doctor all that time, and a damn good one, I might add. So we got lots of memories of Joe. It's been a long time. When you think about it.
It's a whole lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any birthday wishes for Joe Shear?
Well, we wish the next 70 years would be as good as these have been for everyone in his family.
Anything from you, Paul?
Sure, Joe's a great guy. I hope he lives another 70 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Good help.
He's been a good friend.
He certainly has. He's very comforting to know that Joe and Miriam are here with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. When Gail and Joe asked me to talk, Gail and Michael asked me to talk about Joe, I wonder if I should talk for hours or for minutes. But I think we talk minutes. Joe and I go back a long time. First saw Joe in 1941. Well, I didn't talk to him, I just saw him. Nobody saw Joe in those days. He was always running from Pharmacy School to Poppleton and Lombard Street. Nobody ever saw him. All he said was just greased lightning running all over the place. You think I was fast? Joe was worse. I really didn't see Joe until 1944 when I started medical school. I saw him for 1 second standing still. 1 second he stood still, and I grabbed him. I said, Joe Shear and Leonard Golumbek, and that's how we met him. That was a wonderful day in my life because really it was a big asset to me knowing Joe. But there are a lot of problems. Joe's a lot of problems. We went back actually from Borman Avenue, 4035 Borman Avenue, when we had a lot of fun there. And I got to talk about Miriam, but you can't dissect Joe from Miriam. It's just all one package. We used to go there and play bridge, even in those days. And Miriam used to make that delicious pineapple upside down cake, which I thought was a custard pie. Everybody got sick except me, but make it again, Miriam. I still like it. I can tell about Joe, his expertise. Joe, great in giving lessons. Told me everything I know about bridge, golf, all the expertise that Joe knew, and Joe was an excellent golfer. He told me everything, and still does teach everything. And I know I learned from Joe. What else can I say about Joe? I'll tell you. Once we were up in Philadelphia for a medical meeting for a week. We shared a hotel room. Every night before dinner, Joe's on the phone for a half hour doing homework with one of the girls. I don't remember if it was either Gail or Barbara. 30 minutes on the telephone. I'm paying half the phone bill, doing their homework for them. And where was she in school? Elementary school. You want to know why your father's so smart? He went to school 5 times for the same class. 1 by himself, 4 with each kid. But he wanted that Duffy with Joe. But it's really been a pleasure knowing Joe. He's been one of the best things in my life, knowing Joe. It's really been a big asset. Whenever I've been up or down, and I've been down many times, either physically or emotionally, whatever it was, Joe and Miriam were always there. Always. I didn't ask for them. They just showed up and knew I was there. But I was a little disappointed in Joe also, Miriam too on some occasions. When I first met Joe, we were acquaintances. Then we became friends. Then we became Mishpach and became family. I thought I was part of the family. But Miriam told me she was inviting her sisters to Natalie's wedding and didn't invite me. I was offended. What kind of business was that? I thought I was part of the family. But the fact I'm here today shows that Miriam finally learned I'm part of the family. Your turn, Betty.
After all that, I don't know what to say. But I've often thought of suing Joe for alienation of affection. Because often when Leonard walks in the door, the first thing he does is call Joe rather than me. And he seems to want to spend his afternoons more with Joe than with me. So I've often
Because Joe gives me, that's helping. Joe gives me positive instruction. When I see Joe every afternoon, he gives me a golf lesson, Betty. I mean,
so
that's
I've
valuable.
often considered that, except that then if I'd sue him for that, then I wouldn't have Miriam, and then that would be very bad, because that has made up for it. And my funniest memories of are Leonard and Joe both trying to accuse each other of being more hyper. And Joe says, "Isn't Leonard hyper?" And I says, "Boy, Joe's so hyper." And it's really fun watching the two of them compete.
You know Joe's more hyper.
For the hyper contest of the year. And but they both are giving and caring and loving people, and we hope that both of them live for many years and have each other. Just as I will hope to.
And we'd have Betty and
many.
Miriam also. It won't be so terrible. We can put up with you girls.
So this is, Joe's been always there for me too, whenever I needed him. Although sometimes when anything bad's happened to me, he looks like the world has come to an end, and then I have to cheer him up so that he won't feel so bad that something bad's happening to me. I can endure that. So.
Because of Joe, we made one promise to my daughter, Franny. We swear to Franny, if ever she got sick, we would never tell Joe again. Once we were on vacation, and Franny got mononucleosis. Well, it wasn't so good for had mononucleosis, but Joe knew about it. And Joe drove her crazy. He made 3 stops a day to the house to see Franny. He called 6 times a day between Grandma Lil and Joe. She swore never to get sick again with Joe's knowledge. Promise.
But that just shows how much he cares, and it really has been wonderful to have him as a friend. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
What about this grandpa brother? No, this.
Go ahead.
Hello, you ready?
Yeah.
Hello, Joseph. This is your father-in-law.
He knows who you are. Don't he? You think he knows who he is, Michael?
I hope so.
Wishing you a lot of happy birthdays. And I remember when you first came to my house on Violet Avenue with a heavy snow and we got stuck in the alley with the car. So,
Do you remember how they got it out?
well, and I helped you to get out with the snow. And so that's been quite a few years ago. So I wish you many and many happy birthdays. This is your father-in-law, Charles.
I think it's Sonia.
Well, Joe's been my brother for a long time. I was very fortunate to have him in the family from when I was a little girl. Because, as you know, we didn't have any foreign brothers. But Joe was really great to have and was always close with him. And always loved him. I remember, though, when he first came into the family, it was like a shock to us because he was very religious. And my mother used to get so excited when Joe would come over for dinner. He had a daven first.
And you put away the oysters.
Right.
You had to hide the oysters downstairs. That's what it was.
And we really didn't know how to handle this because we were religious in, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur religious, but we weren't the
you had to say brachas before dinner, and then Joe would also sometimes wrap tefillin if he was over in the house. When do you do that, in the morning?
In the morning.
In the morning.
What was he doing sleeping over there? They weren't married yet.
He did, but
Oh, sure. Now it comes out.
it was, we just really couldn't be sure of how we felt about all this, but it was, we loved him. And as years go on, he didn't have to say as many brachas.
Because he
But
got in
we
with the
still
Brenners, he don't bother
Yeah,
as much.
yeah, we eat a lot, but we don't daven a lot.
Yeah.
I just remember Joe through all the years being there for us, and I know this is supposed to be all funny, but Joe isn't all funny, and
He walks
he's
funny.
meant a great deal to us, and I love him very much, and I know my family does. That's it. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right.
Me? What can I
Tell
know.
him about how we found him in Bruges,
In Bruges.
and how you rode
No,
around.
I'm not going to.
Go
But
ahead,
it's
Irvin.
tough to be the last son-in-law coming into this family following Joe Shear.
And
you know-
Neil.
Well, but Joe, it's Joe's birthday, not Neil's.
Yeah, okay.
But following Joe Shear into a family is pretty tough.
And you've been brave.
I've been brave enough, tried to live up to his standards, but I just can't do it. Thank God I can beat him in golf.
Scorsese or something.
Roll it, idiot. We're rolling.
Are we on?
Yeah,
Well, hi.
Scorsese.
Howdy, Joe. Happy 70th birthday. And we're glad we're here. And nice to be on the tape. Why don't you
Hey. Okay, my
Say
turn
something.
first. Okay, Joe, I knew I was marrying into the smart Shear family when on the day we got married, you said to me, "You mean your name isn't Matilda, it's Madeline?" I really felt secure that I was marrying a real smart guy from a smart family. Hats off.
Hats off to you, Joe. And to show how your brilliance came through, my memory was the time at Halloween about 20 years ago when we were running a little low on chocolate, and you came up with the idea to baggie some prunes, put them in baggies and give them out to people. Well, to say the least, we did get a few of those prunes headed back our way, and but it was a fond memory. Anyway,
Happy birthday. We're glad we could be here. And
God bless you.
bye.
I just wanted to say a few words about Joe Shear, my father-in-law, and I think the best way that I can do that is to start by mentioning a book that had a lot of influence upon me, because I think it ties in with the things about Joe that mean a lot to me, and that is Elie Wiesel is a writer whose books I've really enjoyed, and he wrote a book called The Earth is the Lord's, and I'm thinking about that book as I think about Joe, because I think Wiesel was trying to say that the earth and the lives of the people on the earth are very precious and something not to be squandered and abused or overlooked. And I think Wiesel was saying that people have a responsibility to take care of each other to the best of their abilities, and to look out for the people around you, and to try to take care of the people you love. And I believe that Joe does that every day of his life. He is a spiritual person and deeply religious person, and a person with a big heart and a kindly heart. And these are all things that are outstanding in the human spirit, and Joe has those qualities, and we love you for it. So, happy birthday, Joe.
Hi. you know, I've been there for all these tapes, and I know how people are either trying to tell an anecdote about my father, or you know, praise him up to the sky. And Donna just was very eloquent. You know, I of course think of the Mark Twain line about, you know, when I was 17, I didn't think my father knew anything at all. And when I was 21, I was amazed at how much he had learned in the past 4 years. I appreciate my father more and more as I get older. And maybe because he's getting older too. I mean, I think the capacity for change is still with us, and I think we're both changing. I think we've grown closer. He obviously has had a tremendous influence on me, sometimes with me going the opposite direction, sometimes with me, you know, listening to him and doing things that he thought were in my best interest, and it hasn't always been easy, but you know, he's given me some very good advice throughout the years, and he's given me some terrible advice too, but the good advice we'll talk about, which the most important one he ever gave me professionally was when I first was setting up my own practice, and my father, and I was worried, you know, I mean, I was out a year and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing, and my dad, I was worried about this, worried about that, and promoting and all that kind of garbage, and my father said, just practice good medicine and you don't have to do anything, you don't have to worry about anything else. If you practice good medicine, the rest will follow. And I've tried real hard to do that, and I think any success I do have as a doctor is directly related to that. And I think my father follows that not just in terms of practicing medicine, but also in terms of his every activity he does. He tries his best at all times. He really does. I will tell the story of, you know, gotta have something funny here. The story about, you know, Uncle Leonard talked about how quick my father is and things like that, and how he travels at light work. Well, I tell the story to my friends in describing my father that I was once making a bologna sandwich in the kitchen at Wood Valley Drive, and I had taken out the salami and the bread and had put it over at the sink and left the mustard on the counter next to the refrigerator across the room from each other. So I turned from the mustard to go over to the sink, and I cut the salami. I turned back to get the mustard, and it was gone. And I looked around, it was back in the refrigerator, and I had not seen my father, had not heard my father, but he had come in, seen the mustard out, put it back in, and went on about his business, as you know. And it's just that's my father, and you know, I remember vividly him doing 3 things at once, and you know, trying to be efficient and doing all those things. But I think overall, he's a wonderful guy, and I must admit sometimes I get sick of hearing how wonderful he is from my patients who've seen him. It's like, you know, one woman said, "Ay, if you were only 1/10 the doctor your father is, ay, what a wonderful doctor you'd be." And I say, great. And other times I'll walk out into the waiting room, and without even saying a word, I'll hear, "You look just like him," like you know, like the second coming of the Messiah. So, all in all, this is a wonderful day. It's a wonderful opportunity, and myself, and I think everyone who knows you, Dad, are really blessed. Really, and I mean that from my heart. Sometimes it's hard to tell when I'm kidding or not, but I'm serious. I really think that you're one of the most wonderful people in the world, and I think we're all very lucky and fortunate to.
Well, since we've been asked to talk about you, Joe, I thought that I ought to begin when I was 25, because as best as I can recall, that was when I first knew you. And I can say that the last 22 years have been kind of like a toxic load. I have been, every time we get together, we play golf, and it's wonderful. Every time we have rite of passage. We get together and it's wonderful. I can't stand all these wonderful events. I need a little bit of balance. What's the measure of a 70-year-old? I suppose the measure of a 70-year-old is in 5 grandchildren, and that's the first thing that comes to my mind. I think another measure of a 70-year-old is the care that he's provided to his son-in-law, and that brings to mind sticks. I can recall your fascination with my nose when I had allergies and how you use sticks and neosynephrine and just sort of shove them up my nose, and I'll never forget that. That's part of my life now. I suppose another measure of 70 years might be something to do with how you get started in the morning, and that there's 2 ideas that I'd like to share with you. One is how I sat down probably within the first year of really getting to know you one morning very early as you were on your way out, and you opened up a can of tuna fish in front of me and started eating it at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I had never seen that before. And I found that to be something quite extraordinary. I suppose the other morning event that I've always been intrigued by is how you make coffee. And I'll never forget when you came up to Syracuse, how you put an electric coffee pot on an electric stove. That too was something that was quite extraordinary. A measure of a 70-year-old probably is the fact that at this time in your life you're still surrounded by 4 children who are by any measure successful and loving and caring. I think that in itself is something that is rather extraordinary in this day and age. I can tell stories about each one of your children, but I suppose I should talk more about how you relate to those 4 children, and I can say unobjectively, or objectively, or subjectively, that you have used me over the years to find out about each one of them in their own way. How is Michael? Well, what is Gail thinking about? How is Johnny? Have you talked to Johnny lately? I really would like to know a little bit more about, and I can honestly say over the past 22 years, I guess it's 22 years as I count them, I have never been able to figure out any of your children, including my wife Barbara. I don't understand them. I don't know how they were raised. I don't know why they were raised. I don't know who they are. So when you ask me, how's Michael, all I can say is, he's good. He's fine. He's doing well. I guess the last measure of a 70-year-old is that we're going to gather for dinner. I hope it's a light dinner. I put on 2 weight over the past few years. And I think that just being able to show face and bring the family together is the greatest tribute to any 70-year-old that I can think of. Happy birthday.
Okay. Hi, Grandpa. All right, I'm supposed to tell you what I remember about you and what I love about you. I guess what first comes to my mind is when you always call me up when I'm in Ann Arbor, and you always joke about how it's someone else, like the Ann Arbor NBD Bank or something like that. Actually, they called up once, and I thought it was you. I guess that's what I remember the most. But otherwise, I remember like certain times, like when we went golfing a couple years ago, and I put the golf cart into full speed. But that's getting off the subject. I love you very much, and happy birthday.
Hi, Grandpa. I just wanted basically to say thank you. You are a very caring person, and you've tried to help me with however you could, which included in, I guess, I must have been 7th or 8th, probably 8th grade. I was having trouble with geometry, and I remember I came to visit you right before my final exam in the class, and you read my geometry book in order to help me. And I just, even though even though I didn't have any questions to ask you, and it was basically a hopeless case, I just wanted to thank you for that, and thank you for all the, I guess, all the things extra things that you did with me, and that I didn't particularly have a right to expect, and yet you did it anyway, which included, taking me, to Williamsburg or Atlantic City or Rehoboth, just this past summer, but not even those trips, but those trips were fun, but just visiting you and seeing you and Grandma were one of the main pleasures of my life, and I love you a lot, and happy 70th birthday.
Hi, Dad. I'm really glad to be here for this happy and momentous occasion with my family and with the extended family. And I guess when I think of you, among the most notable things I think about are your energy and your enthusiasm, certainly for family and for your profession and your patience, and how you've taken care of people for generations, both in the family and in Baltimore. And both you and Mom have stressed being upright people, tzaddik, and that's been very important over the years to me. And I wish you the best of luck over the coming decade, and I hope you and Mom enjoy the travels and trips that you take, and the work that you do in the office, or whatever work you do over the next several years, and your grandchildren. And I'm really glad to be here today.
Thanks, Mike. Chuck. I have some notes. I hope you don't mind. I wanted to say a few words to you, Dad, first, and then with my family. I wanted to say that you are an individual that loves your family and your neighborhood and your synagogue, and you revel in it, so to speak. I remember the time that you took me to the hospital when I was delivering Elliot, because Joel was collectively working in negotiations, and I had changed and was going into the delivery room, and I was in the middle of all these contractions, and we bumped into your accountant, whose wife was also having a baby, and you started introducing me to him. And that's just typical, because you love, people, and you love your, okay. And I noticed that we've all become a facet of Joe Shear. Michael is the doctor. Jonathan does the stock market, of course. Barbara's the teacher, the love of education, and the gerontologist. But I am the lawyer, and I don't know where that came from. I figured it was an inheritance from Duke, the aggressiveness, the time that he ate the chihuahua. Oh yes, I'd like to close with some things about you as a father. For your next life, Dad, when you come back, you should tell your children, you didn't tell us we weren't as assertive enough as I think that we should have been. It's nice to be able to express yourself. And also, things have a natural flow to life. They ebb and they flow, and I think you wanted things done too quickly. I think that people should be able to, make mistakes and try different things and not get things decided, like in a minute. But I do want to say, the best thing about you as a father is that you have been totally supportive and very loving. And whenever I've had something that has gone wrong in my life or something that hasn't been as happy, you have always been right there, visiting me and giving me words of encouragement. And that meant a lot to me. Very, very loving and not judgmental. And you've been the best grandfather. The kids have been really all the better for it. So happy birthday, Dad. You've been a wonderful person for all of us. That's it.
Smith, take one. Roll 'em.
Hi, Grandpa. I want to wish you the best for your birthday, and I want to talk about your love. And the two most important things I think that you love is your family and your knowledge of medicine and what you can do with it. And I think they're really important things, and you know how to split them up and give equal love to both of them. And you also love to play golf, which I think is important, but I think you know your family is important, and you know when to split it up and when to have fun and when to be serious and when to teach, which you've taught me a lot.
Was that cheat or teach?
Teach.
Okay.
Which you've taught me a lot, and like cards and Hebrew, and I thank you for everything, and I just wanted to wish you a happy birthday, and I love you very much. Okay, bye.
Elliot, we decided we'd say hello to Grandpa and say what we want to say today together. And we were talking about that before. What's the first time you remember seeing Grandpa? Time's up. What's the first thing you remember about Grandpa?
His kindness.
What kinds of things does he do that makes him kind?
Well, he helps others, takes me to fun places.
What kind of fun places does he take you to?
He took me golfing.
Does he really? What's your handicap? Where else does he take you?
Well, he takes me to sports and
other fun games? What other good things does he do? Does he do things for other people other than you?
yes.
What kinds of things does he do?
Takes care of them if they get hurt or injured.
And have you seen him do that? Have you gone to his office
Yes.
with him? Is that fun? What do you do there?
Well, I go around and look at neat things that he does to others.
When you think of Grandpa, what's the first thing you think of?
What he does.
What he does?
Like what he does.
You mean his job?
Well,
Or the kinds of things he does?
yeah, the kinds of things he does.
Like what?
I told you already.
Oh, you told me already. I wasn't following the flow. Well, we just thought we'd sit down here together and think of all the good things we could think about Grandpa and wish him a happy birthday. Can you say a happy birthday, Grandpa?
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Grandpa.
We won't get on.
Hey, stick your head in a little bit more.
Say something real fast, okay?
What are you going to say?
Whatever comes to mind.
Say something funny and happy.
Yeah, we are. This is very somber.
Well-
How about,
Happy birthday, Grandpa. I always think of you.
I hope your socks are not holy. It's good, eh?
Why does he have holy sock?
Yeah, that's something we should say.
Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
Go.
It's been rolling.
Happy
Okay.
birthday, Grandpa.
That's the best happy birthday you
Don't
can
eat
have.
any oysters tonight.
And may you make
Don't have holy socks.
and may you make more pounds of coleslaw in the future.
Hi. Happy birthday, Uncle Joe.
Happy birthday, Joe. I have to tell you that my fondest memory was on my wedding day as I sat around
She hobbled around.
I sat
She sat
with
most of it.
a very large foot, and everybody was sort of hovering around, and you were the one person who came over and you said, "Are you sure you're okay?"
You were the only one who noticed that I was kind of sitting there, sort of ready to pass out. But I will always cherish those early days and all the years afterward. And I still say that you don't look 70, you don't act 70, and I know you're going to be like this always. Many, many, many more years of being Joe. We love you.
Wow. I can't say I can follow that one up too well.
Ta-da.
But happy birthday and many more.
Happy birthday, Uncle Joe. And I don't have any great big book stories, but I guess when I was a little kid, you did give me a stethoscope. I don't know if you remember this. You gave me a stethoscope, and I guess it was an early attempt to try and get me to be more like the medical side of the family. Well, it failed, but happy birthday, and go on being a good doctor and good uncle and good father and good grandfather and good husband and good brother-in-law and whatever else you are for many years. Good golfer, well, many years.
Adam, tape's running out.
Yeah, so I'm done. Good.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.